have been pulled from the agenda, AB 930 by Assemblymember Gordon, item number 7, and AB 1298 by Assemblymember Blumenfeld. That's item number 10. We have 9 measures on the agenda, 4 of which are on consent. And let's see, Mr. Jeffries, always being gracious, has said that he would wait patiently for Mr. Portantino to present his item. So we'll start as a subcommittee. Welcome, Mr. Portantino.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Jeffries, who has a good bill.
We'll determine that.
I would like to begin by accepting the amendments set forth in the analysis in points 3 and 4 as author's amendments. Point 3 requires the MV to send the notification at least 60 days prior to the expiration of the ID, and point 4 changes the code section where the policy is placed. AB 390 is a very simple measure which seeks to codify a newly implemented DMV policy to notify California ID holders that their ID is about to expire. Despite design changes, security enhancements made California ID card, it remains difficult for individuals with limited or no vision to determine the expiration date on the identification they rely on. And so we're asking for this notification to go out so those folks who can't look down on their card and know when it expires get notified. And I have some witnesses, so request an aye vote when you have a quorum.
Witnesses in support.
Yes, Madam Chair DeSaulnier, my name is Jeff Tom, and I'm with the California Council of the Blind, the chair of the Governmental Affairs Committee. I will be very brief. This is a simple yet important bill. Since 9/11 especially, the importance of a state identification card has become greatly magnified, whether it's in travel, banking transactions, or many, many other things. It's extremely important that we have an up-to-date state identification card. I have with me a member of our board of directors, Dan Kaiser, who will illustrate that with a story that he has had. Mr. Kaiser?
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that. Well, a couple of times I went, one time I went on Amtrak where I served as a director on Guide Dogs for the Blind's executive board, and I couldn't get on the train to Amtrak because of the Homeland Security rule about the ID cards being up to date. And most horrible of all, though, was I almost couldn't go to Kona, Hawaii, on vacation, because my card wasn't up to date. Fortunately, I sweet-talked them, you know, being a lobbyist and everything, I was able to sweet-talk them. And not that I would do that to this committee, but we urge your aye vote.
You can give it a try. Thank you. Any other witnesses in support? Any witnesses in opposition? Any questions from the committee? Thank you, Mr. Portantini. It's been so long. Yeah. Thank you. So we'll take it up as soon as we have a quorum. Appreciate you clarifying that you're willing to take the amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Jeffries. Electric vehicles.
Very good, thank you. Presenting AB 61, which would authorize the County of Riverside and its cities to implement neighborhood electric vehicle transportation plans. Since 1999, existing law has allowed for the use of neighborhood electric vehicles, or NEVs, on select roads, specifically roads with a speed limit of 35 miles per hour or under. In 2004, the legislature began to authorize a local agency to develop and implement plans allowing cities and counties to develop alternative regulations which give NEVs access to a wider variety of roads while requiring a high level of safety measures. NEVs provide energy efficient travel and are ideal for trips for 10 miles or less. The energy usage of these vehicles is equivalent to 150 miles per gallon. Current law often limits these vehicles current law often limits these vehicles from being used to reach local destinations such as grocery stores, shopping centers, and schools, since they may be on or require usage of roadways with a posted speed limit of 35 miles an hour or above. A number of cities in my county, Riverside, have begun the analysis and development of neighborhood electric vehicle transportation plans for the community. Current law, however, currently requires the city or county to be given statutory authority prior to the implementation of these plans. AB 61 proposes to do just that for the county and the city. With that, I have support. The bill is sponsored by the Western Riverside Council of Governments and supported by the South Coast Air Quality Management District.
Okay, witnesses in support.
Mr. Chair, members, David Jones on behalf of the City of Murrieta. We are very much in support of this bill. Thinks it's a good, environmentally conscious bill, and we would ask for an aye vote when it's time. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members, Will Gonzalez on behalf of the South Coast Air Quality Management District, where most of our air pollution problem is mobile source, so getting folks into these cleaner vehicles is an important step forward, so we support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Will. Any other witnesses in support? Witnesses in opposition? Any questions or comments? Mr. Jeffries, would you like to?
You have an opposition.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, James Lombardo on behalf of the California Association of Bicycle Organizations. The problem that the bicyclists have is that these vehicles are faster than us and they're quieter than us, and it's a little difficult to detect them. And the amendment that is stated in the committee analysis points out that if they're going to expand these type of vehicles on the roadway, that they do not take over the bicycle lane, that they'd have to have their separate lane, that they stay out of the bicycle lane, just like automobiles are required to do. We've been working with the author and his staff to try to do something along those lines. But as you can see, the problem we're seeing is we started with Lincoln. They finally asked for many different delays to do their report. They finally did the report. The problem is Caltrans says they don't have the staff to even analyze it to see whether or not these things should be expanded. And then last year we added Amador and Fresno. Orange County's looking at this. Now we have Riverside, not just a part of Riverside, almost the entire county. And it seems that we're piecemealing this type of an approach and that we really ought to have some statewide standard. So it doesn't matter if you're doing this in San Diego County or Humboldt County, the rules are the same and users know what the rules are when they travel the roads, just like we do with automobiles and trucks and motorcycles.
Thank you. Interrupt here to establish a quorum, and I'll ask the Secretary to call a roll for attendance.
Senators Desaulniers.
Here.
Desaulniers present. Gaines. Present. Gaines present. Harmon. Huff. Here. Huff present. Kehoe. Here. Kehoe present. Lowenthal. Pavley. Rubio. Here. Rubio present. Semidian.
Senator Gaines, you had some comments or questions.
Yeah, great. Thank you. When I was in the Assembly, I represented the city of Lincoln, and we were able to get their program extended. And it was a great program. I didn't hear of any issues in relation to cyclists. So my sense was I don't think there was a problem there. But, you know, I think that is an issue that we need to discuss and figure out how to address. But I think what you're proposing is a good bill and support it.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Senator Kehoe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have to say the bicycles comments resonated with me, Mr. Jeffries, because I've been on transportation for several years now, and we've looked at all these bills coming through pilot by pilot. But, you know, it is a very large state with a lot of EV drivers, and I applaud that, and a lot of bicyclists. And I think we do need to spend a little time and develop a policy that is safe and reasonable. And I know on the Uber bill last year in appropriations we put in some amendments about a task force. I think we should check in in Senate appropes.
So the amendments, I'm told, were direction to the Director of Caltrans to provide some provisions. So maybe we need to work on an iteration of that.
And if they're not working on it, we need to tell them to do it with CHP and other stakeholders, whatever the process is, so we have a standard that's clear across the state and that bicyclists and the NEV drivers both feel as though they have a reasonable opportunity to enjoy their separate vehicles. So I don't want to support this today, and I really think the committee ought to take this policy in hand and try to figure it out.
Anything else from committee members? Mr. Jeffries?
We were notified of the opposition at 4:30 yesterday, so we haven't had a time to react to getting the sponsors to accept any new amendments that may be proposed, but certainly the sponsors are going to be willing to consider something if it's reasonable that a county can do. So if the committee can come up with some language that we should insert, assuming the bill can move forward, I don't think that would be a problem. But at this late hour, we just don't have something for you to offer.
Well, I appreciate your commitment to work with the opponents. I also appreciate the difficulty when they came relatively late. I'm not sort of sympathetic to Senator Kehoe and the suggestion that as the world changes and our infrastructure attempts to change with it, and we discussed this in a different way from a different perspective on Senator Lowenthal's bill, vis-a-vis the distance from a driver of an automobile and a bicyclist. So it's just the infrastructure is changing. We don't know quite what the usage is going to be, but we can see that there are more bike riders and more people using neighborhood electric vehicles, and there are going to be more people using city electric vehicles and full electric vehicles. So there's probably a good reason to have a discussion, and perhaps with some of the agencies that have to deal with this, including the Air Resources Board. So with that, do you have anything to close, Senator or Assemblymember Jeffries?
Just ask for an aye vote.
Okay, is there a motion? So moved. Senator Gaines moves, and I will ask the Secretary to call the roll.
The motion is due, pass, and we refer to the Committee on Appropriations. Senators Desaulniers.
Aye.
Desaulniers, aye. Gaines. Aye. Gaines, aye. Harmon. Huff. Huff, aye. Kehoe. No. Kehoe, no. Lowenthal. Pavley. Rubio. Rubio, aye. Simidian.
Okay, that's on call, Mr. Jeffries.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate your commitment to work with the opponents.
Yeah, if you have some language we can insert as it moves forward, just let us know.
We will.
Okay.
Thank you. Ms. Brownlee, whenever you're all together and ready.
I'm ready.
All right. This is item number 5, AB 607.
Thank
Welcome.
you. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. First, I'd like to accept the committee amendments as authors' amendments. Over the past 2 decades, the opportunity to invest in transportation infrastructure has fallen woefully short of meeting basic needs to serve the state's growing population and dynamic economy. There is tremendous demand to secure ongoing transit revenues for service operations and maintenance of municipal bus services. A recent study commissioned by the American Public Transportation Association identified the emerging media of digital bus advertising as a revenue stream for transportation agencies. Digital ads allow for greater flexibility and increased customization and have been successfully implemented in transit agencies in major metropolitan markets, including the Chicago Transit Authority. AB 607 would authorize a 5-year pilot program to allow the City of Santa Monica buses to display advertising on the illuminated signs that change or stream across only under certain conditions. The city would be required to report on any, if any, adverse impacts on these displays by July 1, 2016. Public transit agencies across the state are struggling to close transit operating budget deficits while continuing to provide vital transit services to their communities. AB 607 is a first step in trying to secure more revenues for these fundamental services. And, Mr. Chair, I have with me today David Feinberg, the Deputy Director of Transit Services for Santa Monica's Big Blue Bus, who is the sponsor of the bill.
Welcome.
Hi, good afternoon. Yeah, again, I'm David Feinberg. I'm the Deputy Director for Santa Monica's Big Blue Bus. I'm here today to ask you to support our bill, AB 607. Our City Council in Santa Monica has been long concerned about the proliferation of commercial advertising. As a result, our city has a long-standing policy of not allowing any commercial advertising on billboards or even at our bus shelters. The only place we really advertise in our city is on the sides of our buses, and we've been doing that since the 1970s. Specifically, this bill would expand the current state law, which allows transit agencies to provide digital signs on route information. The bill would allow the technology to be used for advertising, then sunsets after 5 years, so that we can work with you and the CHP and our city's police department to measure the program's effectiveness and to see if there's any safety impacts. This bill is only a pilot program. We're only looking to put it on 25 of our 200 buses. It's currently in effect in place in Chicago and in New York. We've spoken to the management teams there, and they haven't had any incidents with claims being made as a result of their digital signs there in their systems. The current vehicle code section 25,400 already allows buses to have lamps or other devices to conform to certain brightness factors. So this bill isn't breaking new ground in terms of lighting. We shouldn't forget the fact that we're here today because it's really tough times, as the Assembly member just mentioned, in public transportation. We had a significant fare increase last year. We had another one 2 years ago. And we don't want to have to go back to our riders 3 times over a 4-year period to ask for more revenues. And so that we see this as a creative way to try to get through these tough times. We've been working with the CHP on this digital advertising issue, and we hope that they soon can review this to make sure they're comfortable with it, and we look forward to those discussions. We passed it a minute ago, a picture of our buses. The top one is our current bus, where we already have our existing advertising on there. The second one is a picture of a digital ad on the side during the day in terms of lighting. And then the third picture is what the digital sign would look like at night. We put this on as just an experiment to show our city council. It was never in service. We just put it in front of our city council chambers, and that was it. So that's what it'll look like in reality when we get it on the street. And again, it's only 25 of our 200 bus fleet.
Is that a piggy bank?
Yes. Yeah, it was part of our ad campaign when we raised our fares. That's part of our marketing campaign, was Time for Change.
Very clever.
Yeah. Anyway, so.
Mr. Chair.
I'm filtering.
Okay. Anyway.
They appear to be working for once.
Anyway, here's all information. We appreciate your continued support for public transit, and we urge your aye vote on the bill.
Okay. Gus, any comments?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, Gus Corey here on behalf of the California Transit Association. Don't want to repeat, but I'll associate myself with the comments made by the author and by the sponsor, and I'll just say that we think that this is an innovative way in order to maintain existing service and stave off, hopefully, additional service cuts and fare increases. And the fact that it's being done in 2 out of the 3 biggest cities in the country should hopefully be comforting to the committee. That's a pretty good test case that it works, so we ask for your support.
Thank you. Any other witnesses in support? Any witnesses in opposition? Comments or questions from the committee?
Mr. Chair.
Senator Simitian.
I've got real concerns on the distracted driving front, so let me just put that up front. I don't think that comes as a surprise to the author. I heard the reference to pilot project being limited to 25 of the 200 buses. Is that correct?
Yes.
Could you tell me where in the bill it says that, please?
I don't believe it says that in the bill. I'm pretty sure it doesn't say it in the bill.
So does that mean that pursuant to the provisions of the bill, all 200 buses could have these things in the space of the next year?
Well, the bill is designed to be a pilot project for the city of Santa Monica and their bus service. It doesn't say 25 out of 200. So to answer your question, yes, but this gentleman is representing the Santa Monica Big Blue Bus and saying that they're
we went to our city council, and when we made this proposal to them, suggestion to them last year, the idea was it was going to be a pilot project, and we mentioned 25 was going to be the number we wanted to use as part of the bill.
Well, I guess, Mr. Chairman, and happy to have the author or the sponsor respond, but the goal of putting the advertising on the bus is for people to look at the advertising on the bus. By definition, if they're looking at the advertising on the bus, which the illuminated display is particularly designed to capture their attention, then they're not paying attention to the traffic on the street. I'm not sure what makes us think that's a healthy or good thing.
Well, Senator, if I could respond.
Yeah, please.
And I know that you've done a tremendous amount of work in the legislature to address safety issues for people in automobiles. And we are very appreciative of that. I do believe that buses today, in the perfect world, I'd rather not have advertising anywhere. But and today we have ads on the sides of our buses for pedestrians and drivers to read as they're moving through cities. I think what we're trying to test here is to be able to provide better flexibility, customization, et cetera, with the same kind of advertising, the ability to change it frequently during the day, depending on what market demands are in terms of hoping to improve advertising revenue. And so the point of this is to really study, I think, its implementation and to see if there are safety concerns relative to how buses are advertising currently.
Yeah.
Mr. Feinberg might want to add something.
When we asked our police chief to look at the idea, and he strongly supported it. He saw a real value in having these digital ads on sides of our buses because frequently when we've had emergency situations, we've taken our buses and blocked off certain streets to traffic. We can use these signs to divert people to different parts of town because we can program the signs that quickly to ask people to take a left on Lincoln or take a right on Wilshire or something like that. We had an incident about 2 months ago at a synagogue in town where there was an explosion, and we use our buses to block that stuff off.
Excuse me, through the chair. Sure. I don't doubt the benefit, but the question I specifically asked is, the illuminated signs are by definition designed to attract the attention of motorists. I don't think anybody's arguing that. That's why people pay for the advertising. If they are attracting the attention of the motorists, then by definition, the motorists are not paying attention to the traffic around them. That is the whole goal of the advertising and illuminated sign.
Well, and that's what in my answer, what I was trying to address is that I think the illumination is more about customization and flexibility than attracting people to read.
Let me ask if the author is willing to take an amendment that limits the pilot to 25, if that's what the city has said that they're prepared to do.
We would be very open to that. That's certainly the intention for the city.
I think I'm, as you can tell from my questions, I'm a real skeptic here. I was opposed, and Senator Lowenthal and I had these conversations with the previous administration's proposal to use changeable messages on our freeways. Again, the goal is to distract people. In this case, I credit you with having a sunset date so that there is a real need to sort of stop and take a look. How did this work out? I think that's a healthy thing. But I think if the plan is to do a 25, I just hate to think that next year under a tough budget, all of a sudden people say, well, we can do anything we want. Let's do all 200 before we've actually taken a look at how this worked. So that would be a suggestion or a request that I would make of the author.
I think since you mentioned Chicago and Newark, do we have any information from them about distraction and more incidents, more traffic accidents?
Yeah, we spoke to their management teams, both in Chicago and in New York. They hadn't experienced any claims as a result of the digital ads on the sides of their buses. Now, they don't have it on all their fleets. There's only a small amount of their buses as well, but there hadn't been any incidents where the signs have been blamed for an accident or some kind of incident.
I think all of us would agree intuitively with Senator Samiti, and the whole point is to attract attention, whether that's from somebody who's a pedestrian or another bus rider in another bus. But I support the bill. I like the idea of working with you about restricting it a little bit more, getting more information, because I agree with Senator Samiti. And for me, it's more the trade-offs in these difficult financial times. And I know that's a slippery slope to some people, but I think you said it well. Are you going to be asking people to pay more at the fare box, or are you going to be doing this? So to the degree that you have information from other jurisdictions and Gus, I think that would be helpful for all of us to know.
We're happy to forward that information along.
Okay. Senator Gaines, then Senator Huff.
Yes, I like your bill. I think it's very creative in terms of how do you raise revenue, really not only in a tough economy, but in general for public transit. The fact that the ads can change is the value, I think, to the marketer, whoever the product is. But the ability to change that message every 6 seconds or whatever you agree upon adds value. And it says that it increases the revenue by up to 400%.
That's what's happened in other locales who have, and that's what Santa Monica is estimating would be the potential increase.
Yeah, and our chair and Senator Simidian, I think, raised issues that are valid, and we need to take a look at that information. But I like the idea that it's a pilot. A limit at 25 buses, I think, makes sense.
Thank you, and I can't take any credit for the creativity. It's the Santa Monica Big Blue Bus that should be credited with that creativity.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Huff?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's unclear from this whether you were proposing changeable signs for the front as well as the sides?
Just the sides.
Okay, because one of the pictures did show what looked like it might be a changeable sign in the front, and that ushered in some other questions. How fast would the...
And no changing on the freeway either.
Okay. And what would be the cycle of changes?
You want to answer that? It's in seconds. It's sort of scientific.
We haven't really defined. We're going to have a market study done to see what's the most effective way to do that. It's clear we don't want to do it every 5 seconds. We want to do it over longer periods of time, so it's not constantly flashing. I think there's more value to what we know about it now is there's more value to the person buying the ads if it's less frequent. So
right. Well, and it would get to the point that Senator Simidian raised about distraction. If it goes too fast, it can be distracting. I remember when we were trying to locate a sign for a car agency when I was on city council next to a freeway. Caltrans has some guidelines on how fast it can cycle, and it's like it can't cycle any faster than 3 seconds or something. But I would think you would want to have a fairly long period of time in there so it doesn't become the distraction. And the fact that you have pictures there already, some people are going to look at them, but I think the biggest value for a sign on the side of a bus is when you're rolling into a bus stop, because if people are following along, they're looking at it there. When the bus is in motion, if somebody is worried about an existing sign or a movable sign and not paying attention to that huge object in motion, they've got bigger problems that we're facing than just the movable signs. So I would support your bill. I would take a look at the cycle and get that nailed down so that and it probably ought to be specified that it's not, too frequent. But I support your bill.
Thank you, Senator.
Anyone else? So, Ms. Brownlee, I think what we have here is support for your bill, including Senator Simidian, with the caveat that you would restrict the pilot project to 25 buses.
And for the record, I will move forward with that amendment in terms of that restriction.
And, Mr. Chairman, just so Ms. Brownlee's clear, I'm still a no vote on the bill.
Well, maybe we should.
No, I understand. I understand if I just, on the economics through the chair, one lawsuit and your increased ad revenue just went out the window, apart from whatever tragedy that one lawsuit represents. So I'm a no vote on the bill. I still encourage the author to put a 25. If the bill really is 25 buses, then I would encourage the author to do it. But I just can't bring myself to vote for the bill. I think it's fundamentally unsafe.
Well, if I could, Mr. Chair, I think the limitation is an appropriate one, and I'd like to, I guess, move forward with a promise that it would be limited in the range of maybe 30, just to give the city of Santa Monica a little flexibility. We're just coming up. I mean, the city has already committed to 25, but their plans could change just to provide a little bit of flexibility. But certainly understand the intention of the committee, and would really appreciate the aye vote from this committee. And I think this is about a pilot and testing, and there's all kinds of ways to secure safety. Senator Huff talked about at a bus stop where you might have the sign illuminated on the sidewalk side of the street, but not on the driving side of the street. There's all kinds of different things, I think, to work through here. That's the point of the pilot and the test, and working very closely with the Santa Monica Police Department and with the California Highway Patrol in this effort. So I would respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Senator Pavley, you have any opinions on this?
Yes, and I already spoke to Assemblymember Brownlee in Santa Monica, so I was going to keep my comments relatively short. I love the author and I love Santa Monica. But my only concern, and I'm a great supporter of local control, that a pilot program in and of itself because of the revenue potential. There'll be, I would predict, increasing amount of pressure or other groups, other transit authorities, other cities that'll want this too before there's really a report or a study. And for many cities and things, they don't have really local control of the buses. They're by a regional fleet. And so you lose that local controlling for people, for any cities and the people who live in them who don't like the illuminated changeable messages, like on mobile billboards, but on their particular street. So I'm just concerned about that. So I'm abstaining probably for today. Look forward to continued discussion.
Okay. Anyone else? Ms. Brownlee, would you like to close? Before you close, so the agreement is, at least from my perspective, is what we're talking about. The motion is to do pass. The next stop is the floor, and we will have some discussion. I will with our staff, with your staff and yourself, about what the right number is, but we're going to limit the number of these in the pilot project to something that's more than 25, but probably less than a very large number above that. I think we can have the discussion. So,
with that, I would ask for an aye vote.
Okay. So you began your comments by accepting the technical amendment. We're clear with that.
Yes, we're accepting the technical amendments as author's amendments.
This is what happens when you have brilliant Senate staff.
I know, it was that pink pig
staff
that got...
All right, so the motion is due pass.
I can see the bubble up here.
And
Okay, the motion is due pass as amended. Senators Desaulniers.
Aye.
Desaulniers, aye. Gaines. Aye. Gaines, aye. Harmon. Huff. Aye. Huff, aye. Kehoe.
Aye.
Kehoe, aye. Lowenthal. Pavley. Rubio. Aye. Rubio, aye. Semidian.
No.
Semidian, no.
You've got 5 votes. We're going to leave that on call. Thank you, Assembly Member.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members.
Our next... Need one more. One. Okay. 5 votes is sufficient for passage, but we're leaving it on call. Assembly Member Lowenthal. You have item number 4, AB 426. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. AB 426 is a simple bill that streamlines and expands upon the legislation enacted last year and in 2006 pertaining to transit courts. Those bills lessened the burden placed on our regular court system by allowing transit agencies to administer and adjudicate fines and penalties for minor violations of passenger misconduct on transit systems. These are not serious, egregious crimes, and our overtaxed judicial system could use this relief and spend its time and resources much more effectively dealing with the more serious criminal acts. This bill is sponsored by the Los Angeles Metropolitan Transportation Authority, and they've been working with other transit districts as well so that they can benefit from the bill also. I want to thank the committee for their effort in improving the bill, and I accept the committee's suggested amendments. There's no opposition to this bill. I respectfully request your aye vote.
Thank you. Witnesses in support.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. Michael Turner on behalf of the Metropolitan Transportation Authority. As the Assembly member said, this is an important bill for us. It helps us streamline and facilitate the creation of our transit court. It'll give us greater flexibility with our process and greater oversight over the citation process. And it's important to note that the goals here are, like, as identified in the Supreme Court, we're not here to try and raise money. We want to have greater control over the citation process and more oversight so we can try and have better enforcement over the citations issued on our system. We have Karen Gorman and Dwayne Martin from Metro here to answer any questions that may arise.
Okay. Anyone else with comments? Mr. Watts.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and members, Mark Watts. Today I'm here on behalf of the North San Diego County Transit District as well as Metrolink. Both have been included in this measure, and we appreciate the work of your staff in crafting a suitable set of amendments. Thank you. Support the bill.
Gus?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. Members, Gus Corey here on behalf of the California Transit Association. We're in support.
All right.
Kurt Evans with the Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority, and with the amendments being proposed by committee staff, which address us as well, we're in support of the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other witnesses in support? Any witnesses in opposition? And you have already indicated your acceptance of the technical
Correct.
amendments. Senators Lowenthal and then Keogh.
Yeah. I just want to be clear on which amendments, so we're saying that the one that the committee, whether it's appropriate to create, well, they call it a bounty hunter situation, what we're saying is that the money will not go to the transit authority. Is that not so? It will go to the general fund, so that's one. And two, that there's a report back to the legislature 2 and 5 years after the program has been launched. Those are the amendments, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Good.
Senator Keogh.
Whose general fund?
County.
It goes to the county.
LA County.
And what about North County Transit? Okay, so if it's regardless of what city the ticket is written in, it goes to the county.
Yes, that's all the same. That was one of the concerns that the committee staff raised about not wanting to have a bounty provision. And
Right, but
so it will go
but
to the
bounty
county
would
general.
if it were a bounty situation, it would go directly to North County Transit.
Right, and in our case, we had previously had the language where the money would go directly to us. So now it's not going directly to us; it'll go to the
Okay.
county, and that would be the same for.
And then how much money is raised this way? How many tickets are written? Give me just a scale.
I think the problem we've had with our system is that we
And
don't.
Who is yours?
I'm with the LA County,
Oh, okay.
with
All
LA
right, go
County,
ahead.
and I can talk about the general problem. They can answer the question about the money. The basic problem has been the sheriff's department writes the citations on our system, and then they go into the court process, and we don't know what happens with them. We get a check from the court system back after they've assessed fines and processed the citations, but we don't know the disposition of things like fare evasion and some of the other things. So this will give us more control. So we'll be handling those citations.
Do you
We'll
know
what
how
happens
many
with them.
tickets are written even?
Yes, we know how many tickets
Okay.
are written. We just don't know what happens to
Okay.
them afterwards.
And that's the same for everybody pretty much?
With LA County Metro, there's approximately in the neighborhood of between 70 and 100,000 tickets. I mean, that includes juveniles. The 17,000 juvenile tickets are in here.
Okay. The report to the legislature 2 and 5 years after the new programs, or everybody is included in the reports? Are all the agencies that are currently allowed to do this going to be included in the reports?
There's only one agency that is implemented at this time, that is San Francisco.
Okay.
And so they are maybe within 2 years. So there would be a 5-year report from San Francisco and 2 and 5 year reports from everybody else.
Okay. Is there a sunset in the bill?
No, we don't have a sunset on the bill.
So the intention of the committee is to just deal with the information that comes back in the reports? Okay.
Yes.
All righty. Thank you.
Anyone else on the committee comments or questions? Senator Gaines?
Yeah, I thought I was going to be in opposition, but it looks like you made some clarification in terms of where the revenue is going. My concern was it was going back to the transit agency, and so it's going to the county, and then we'll get 2 reports at 2 years and
5.
And 5. Okay. All right. Very well. Good. Thank you.
All right, it's been moved by Senator Pavley. Senator Lowenthal, Assemblymember Lowenthal, would you like to close?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
I ask the Secretary to call roll.
The motion is to pass as amended. Senators Desaulniers?
Aye.
Desaulniers, aye. Gaines? Aye. Gaines, aye. Harmon? Huff? Kehoe? Aye. Kehoe, aye. Lowenthal?
Aye.
Lowenthal, aye. Pavley? Aye. Pavley, aye. Rubio? Aye. Rubio, aye. Semidian? Harmon? Aye. Harmon, aye.
That's 7 aye votes, sufficient for passage, but we're going to leave it on call for any of the members who weren't able to vote. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
That'll take us to Ms. Ma. And that's our last item, item 8, AB 1041.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members. I would first like to begin by accepting the amendment found in comment 3 listed in the committee analysis. I'm pleased to present AB 1041, a district bill, which will eliminate the sunset date on the San Francisco pilot program that uses transit-only lane cameras, which are designed to improve the safety, reliability, and performance of the San Francisco Municipal Railway transit. The Muni is one of the oldest transit systems on the globe and the 7th largest in the nation. With 63 routes, 7 rail lines, the Muni serves as a vital hub to the Bay Area, moving 200 million customers every year. In order to move so many people quickly and efficiently, Muni must be reliable and safe. As a method to reduce the congestion and accidents within the city of San Francisco, I carried a bill in 2008, AB 101, which implemented a pilot program that allows for Muni to enforce parking violations in transit-only traffic lanes by using forward-facing cameras. A study conducted shows that from 2009 to 2010, there was a 47% decrease in bus zone violations and a 44% decrease for double parking violations in these lanes. The study also found a reduction in potential accidents and more reliable and predictable bus travel time on congested routes. AB 1041 continues this important San Francisco program, which reduces traffic, street congestion, and our carbon footprint. With me today is Kate Breen with the San Francisco Municipal Transportation Agency, the sponsor of the bill.
Thank you. Yes, Kate Breen with the San Francisco Municipal Transportation Agency, here today sponsoring and in support of the bill. We have a 14.8-mile network of currently designated transit-only lanes, and this program was initiated as a pilot to look at on-time performance, but I really want to emphasize also the impact that we have seen on safety on our system. In a dense urban environment, a number of traffic violations significantly impact the operating speed and efficiency of transit vehicles in the downtown area. Double parking, the practice of parking in an active lane of traffic downtown, is a very keen example that creates a pinch point where if you're imagining an articulated motor coach trying to pull back into traffic when there is a double parked vehicle, it's not only a performance issue, it's a critical safety issue. It also presents a critical safety challenge for those customers who are trying to board the vehicle. In addition to bus stop zones and infringement in that area, we're also authorized under this legislation to cite for towway zone violations, and those are clearly designated in our downtown areas. Prior to this bill, in these locations, we would be obliged to cite these violators with parking control officers, and our interest was using technology to find a better way really at the moment of impact, which is when the bus is coming upon the violation. That is where, I mean, you don't get really any better than that in terms of the nexus between the violation and the impact on performance. In terms of San Francisco's initial experience with the program, I will acknowledge in our report that was required by AB 101, we were very full disclosure in that report. This is a pilot program that we hope to authorize as a permanent program to give it more stability and predictability from procurement and budgeting point of view. We have had challenges, and we acknowledge those in that report. We currently have 30 coaches out of 800 coaches installed. And so I think as we go forward, looking forward to a permanent program, we can be more predictable in terms of the kind of technology and system-wide that is on our fleet. We ask today for your aye vote, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Kate. Nice to see you. Other witnesses in support?
I'll just add, Steve Wallach on behalf of the City and County of San Francisco. We're also strong support of this bill and urge your support.
Thanks.
Thank you, Gus Corey here on behalf of the California Transit Association. Don't think I could have said any better than the author and the sponsor. Urge your support.
Mr. Chairman, Mark Watts, representing the San Francisco County Transportation Authority, a funding partner of MUNI, and in strong support. Thank you.
Other witnesses in support? Are there any witnesses in opposition? Senator Lowenthal? Be correct, Senator Lowenthal, and then Senator Harmon.
Maybe you should say the president.
Present, Senator. You will all be Senator Lowenthal to us for always.
Well, thank you. I may enjoy that just for a few minutes. But the question is, as I understand that there are two issues I have. One is the current program uses kind of video recordings, really, and then they're transmitted back. Now we're not only getting rid of the sunset, and I have a question about that, but we are now going to wireless or online. So this bus will be recording as it goes along. It'll be transmitted to some kind of center where somebody can respond to what they're seeing. Mm-hmm. How are we assured now that there will be a protection of privacy? Mm-hmm. What say if you see a crime in action or what you believe to be? Explain to us how San Francisco is going to deal with this privacy issue or other things that are observed, because now we're going to online, right. And you can tell that center can call somebody and say, I want you at that corner right now.
So we have, I think, been somewhat at the forefront in trying to manage the issue of privacy and at the same time benefit from technology. Our staff are frankly very eager to have wireless data transmission. The staffing resources on the video download is not efficient at all and not cost effective. We are interested in the same kinds of security and privacy as you would be. Right now, when a violation occurs, it's not a rolling image. It is an image that is triggered when there is a violation. And so one of the concerns that I hear you expressing is the sort of rolling, video out there, the rolling cameras, and that isn't the way this program was intended to work.
Even when you're looking at something, you see something else right there in the camera.
That's a good point, because that actually happens now, not with these cameras, but with a lot of the cameras that are used in transit districts throughout this country, frankly, and. Anecdotally, when this bill was first being discussed, and we did discuss the privacy issues, we learned that there are systems in this state who are using not forward-facing cameras, but onboard cameras, which are on most of our systems right now, to enforce criminal behavior. And so I'm letting you know that that's happening, but that we are committed to privacy with wireless data transmission.
And as we move towards wireless transmission, let's say we do, and that's a step. Why are we not just with that extending the sunset? Why are we now eliminating the sunset also?
Well, and our response to that would be that this was a pilot program, and with any pilot program, there's a bit of uncertainty that comes from not knowing how much of an investment that you're going to make. And I think given our resources, given our staff constraints, we did the best that we could with the pilot program. What we're seeking is an authorization to make it permanent so that we can budget for this on a forward-going basis. If it doesn't work and we decide not to do it, that onus is on us. And I think our motivated self-interest is not to waste money.
I understand that, but I have some concerns about privacy issues now that.
So, Senator, in 2008, we had a very extensive conversation here in the Senate, and I know that then Senator Oropeza was very concerned about that, when we turn it on, what we can use the video on. And so we really narrowed it down.
But that was not wireless.
Sure. That was not wireless, because right now it's like a VCR, right? So they go out and they film it, and then someone has to take it out, and they have to put it in a machine, and someone has to review it.
And I understand that it's much more efficient to do it this way, but it also raises other issues when you go wireless.
We're willing to work with the committee and any other folks who have a concern with privacy. We obviously want to make sure that privacy is protected to the utmost. So.
Can I just mention one more thing?
Sure, go ahead,
because I think this was a trendsetter, and then last year the governor signed into law AB 2567, I believe, the Bradford bill, which allows statewide wireless data transmission for street sweeper parking violations. And so I think the trend in the technology is there. We would ask for the same.
Senator Harman, and we'll just remind committee members the recommendation is due pass to the judiciary, where I assume they'll be further discussed.
I can guarantee you there'll be further discussion.
And that was a segue to the Vice Chair of the Judiciary Committee.
You described it's not a rolling video, but it's activated, I think was the word you used.
That's correct.
So who activates it?
The
driver?
operator. Mm-hmm.
The driver.
And the equipment is such that
Yes.
And the driver can drive and turn the camera on? Does it have to be
The
focused?
camera is activated. It just takes a picture. That's the
Okay.
only time it actually records it.
It
And it's
doesn't
like
require the
15
bus
seconds.
to stop. I'm calling it a bus, but doesn't require
The vehicle
it to
will
stop in the lanes and take the picture, or does it take it while it's rolling?
It's those vehicles are pretty much infringed upon when there is a car that's double parked there.
Oh, yeah,
so they
yeah.
will stop. I mean, when you're in these lanes, there are literally 2 lanes inbound, 2 lanes outbound. The dedicated transit lane is on your right, and there is very little room for those
They
coaches
can't
to
get
maneuver.
by unless
That's
they get
correct.
out of the transit
That
lane.
is correct.
I understand. The transit lanes are posted for certain periods of time.
Mm-hmm.
Let's call it 8 in the morning to 8 at night. You can't park there. Is there some kind of a clock or a timing device that shows on the video that this picture was taken at 12 noon?
Yes.
And here's an illegal. It doesn't say that in the bill. In the
It's-
bill, it only says that the camera shall be focused so as to capture video images of parking violations. Doesn't say that the camera has to, or the video has to also display the time.
The our law in San Francisco, where the signs are posted, to your point,
Yes.
AM peak, PM peak, and we can only issue citations during those times for those violations, and therefore the camera automatically stamps the time of the video. It will automatically do that by virtue of.
That's what you're doing, and I congratulate you
Yes.
for doing that. But
Yeah.
you're not required by this bill to do that. That's my point.
Okay.
Is that if we're going to, as a legislature, pass a law and give you the authority to do this,
Yeah.
then there should be a requirement that, and this would be someone that would challenge the citation and say, look, I was somewhere else at noon and my car was somewhere. Or you're going to have to show that this picture was taken at this time and that the law requires you to do that. You're doing it, I believe, either voluntarily or by local ordinance, but not under the terms of this law.
We can make the amendments.
Okay. And then I am concerned about the privacy issue. What did we do, Assemblywoman Ma, if you recall, on the street sweeping bill? That one, as the witness indicated, was approved and passed by the legislature. I think we raised the same issues there. We were worried about privacy issues.
Okay,
And
that
street
was-
sweepers were taking pictures of violations when the street sweeper came by.
That was Assemblymember Bradford's bill, so I am
Not familiar with. That's okay.
familiar with.
It doesn't specify it. But if I recall, I don't think it specified.
Didn't?
As far as privacy,
Okay.
I mean, it just.
I can't remember either, so we're all in the same boat here.
I do recall at the judiciary last time the issue about, and it is in the current law, AB 101, the angle of the bill. There were provisions made to really be as directive at the violation as possible.
Right.
So.
Okay, thank you very much.
Before Senator Simitian and then back to Senator Lowenthal, there is in the bill on page 2, line 28 through 30, citations shall be issued only for violations captured during the posted hours of operation for transit-only traffic lane. So it might be something we can maybe elaborate on. And the current statute says the citation has to include the time and the date of the picture. So maybe we need a little work on that between now and when it hits judiciary. Senator Simitian.
I apologize. I've been shuttling back and forth. The information goes where after it's wirelessly transmitted?
Right now, it's not. It's like a VCR.
No, but but the plan is for it to be wirelessly transmitted to where?
Into our enforcement division, where the way that it works now, it would work the same way, except that it would not have to be offloaded by tapes from the yards. And that information goes to our designated parking control officers who are tasked with the responsibility of viewing the citations. They would then be in the same position but reviewing the wirelessly transmitted data, not the tapes.
Right, and they work for
the MTA. That's
MTA.
correct. They're parking control officers.
And the MTA is governed by whom?
The City and County of San Francisco.
So ultimately the Board of Supervisors and the mayor.
And the mayor, that's correct.
Okay. And when the information is wirelessly transmitted, is there any assurance as to how long the information will be kept?
I believe under current law, it's 15 days for data, and after that, it is not kept.
And when we say under current law, is that some other state statute? Is it this statute?
I think it's specified in the bill.
Okay, if you can just point me to that page and line number, that would be helpful.
I think it's referenced in the bill.
The city must destroy video image evidence that does not contain evidence of a parking violation within 15 days.
Okay, and then what
But
about
they could retain video image evidence for up to 6 months or 60 days after the final disposition of the citation, whichever is later.
And thank you. Could you give me I see the page and line number for 15 days. It's the 60 days and 6 months I'm struggling to find as I flip through the bill. The privacy consideration, and I came in and heard Senator Harmon talk about this, is good that 15 days after the information is obtained, if it does not contain evidence, that it's gone. The question is, are we keeping information, location information, in a database more or less in perpetuity without any obligation to purge the data in some reasonable time, understanding that you need to have it there for adjudication.
Right.
And is there some statutory protection that assures that within some reasonable period of time the information is purged?
Page 3, line 25.
Is it page 3, line 25 says the video
Yes.
imaging may be retained for up to 6 months from the date of the information was first obtained or 60 days after, whichever date is later, after which time the information shall be destroyed. And is that current practice for the information that's on the tapes?
Yes.
And has that proven to be a problem at all? Is there...
What I understand from our enforcement staff, and the staffing is a challenge for this program, is that if there is not the appropriate staff to review after 15 days, we simply destroy those. We're not holding on to videos that we can't look at before the statute expires. We're not just, stockpiling videotapes to go back and look at. Very mindful of the time frame requirement for privacy.
And then do you have knowledge of the fact that after 60 days after the final disposition or 6 months, whichever is later, that in fact the information does get purged?
I assume that's true, but I do not know that directly, and I can find that out if you would like to know. I assume that we're abiding by the law.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean my shrug. My shrug is
okay.
not specific to your organization. It's just,
I understand.
There's lots of times when people are overworked and underpaid and highly stressed, and things that are on their to-do list just don't get done, and I think we all understand that. So I'm trying to get a sense. So right now there's a physical tape.
There's a physical tape, that's
and
correct.
So how does that get disposed of in a way that provides for privacy? Do we know?
I know that the tapes are destroyed. I don't know exactly how they are destroyed.
I would just appreciate if you could get information to our office, anytime in the next couple of weeks if that's not inconvenient. And then wirelessly, presumably that means the information is going to be digital.
Right.
And then the commitment is to purge that data on the same timeline.
Exactly. And in fact, I'll ask that same question to our program staff who are already going forward to look at wireless technology to find out how that issue would be addressed.
Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate your forbearance, Mr. Chairman.
See, Senator Lowenthal.
A few questions. We originally did this bill because parking in the lanes was significantly was thought increase the amount of time it takes to even make a short bus journey and inconvenience other road users. Only by reducing the amount of illegal parking in San Francisco's transit-only lanes can Muni service improve sufficiently to meet its on-time performance goals. That was the original reason to pass the bill. The report came back on March 24th of this year. While the report did talk about numbers of citations and changing, it also says the report found no statistically significant change in average bus runs in the second year of the project. Why are we doing this?
Well, I would say that, would you like, that the fact is right now, and I checked this afternoon just to refresh with our staff what the challenges had been on that very point. And the fact is, if you put yourself on the ground with this program, we were challenged to actually get the vehicles that were installed with those cameras on the right routes at the right time. point number one. So there are implementation challenges that I think really impacted our ability to have the better data.
So I can understand that, but that gets back to my original point. Since you have not demonstrated that it does change the efficiency, in fact, the report's saying that there's no statistical change, why are we not just continuing the sunset if we're going to move this forward? Why are we making this permanent with no data to support that it works and serious privacy issues or potential privacy issues? Why are we moving this forward as a permanent project?
Can I just add that
without any data?
I think safety and reliability is also part of the
But that's not why you asked
goal.
originally for the bill. You asked the bill to increase the efficiency of the buses in San Francisco. That was not shown to happen. There may have been reasons why it wasn't. And now you want a permanent program. I have a hard time with that.
Well, I would say whenever you issue a new type of program like this, a citation program, people learn very quickly once they get one ticket to stay out of the, those transit lanes. And so I think it does work, and I think the efficiency actually has increased or progressed, even though statistically, I don't know, this is what they said, but in terms of people getting out of the lanes now, I know I am very mindful of not driving in those lanes, number one. And then again, we have these overhead trolley cars, and again, safety and reliability, when you have to go around these cars, that does pose a safety issue as well. So I would just say that this program is working. They issued more citations for parking in the bus zones, double parking in the transit lanes, and of course they did go down because people are understanding that they have to stay out of those bus lanes. So I think the program has been working.
Mr. Chairman?
Senator Harmon had something, and then Senator Smitty on this particular point.
It's on this point?
Okay,
Okay. Thank you, Senator Harmon. Somewhere, would you be interested in a sunset date on the bill?
Sure.
Let me just, I'm trying to get to yes here. I'm a frequent visitor to San Francisco. I can vouch for the fact that when you've only got a couple of lanes, if somebody's in one of them, then you've just lost 50% of your capacity. It's a fairly simple phenomenon, actually, if you get through all of the engineering jargon and just look at it, and that when the bus is forced to pull out in the middle of the street because somebody's in the bus lane, then you've just lost that lane. I mean, it's just that simple. So I think you're probably on the right track. I have the privacy concerns that I probed on, and was glad that you could help me find the language in the bill quickly. I appreciate that. I think to Senator Lowenthal's point, maybe if you were prepared to look at some sort of extended sunset date, if the chair thought that was appropriate, that might give some of us a little more comfort about moving forward, allowing the wireless. But bringing it back one more time, as painful as that will be, for a conversation at the legislature to generate support for removing the sunset and leaving the program in place. So,
I think that's a good suggestion. I don't know how you feel about it, Assembly Member. It allows for Senator Lowenthal's concerns. We would like to have enough time to see that it's working. I agree with Senator Smitty, and intuitively, and being a resident of the East Bay and constantly cough up money for entrance and to pay to stay there. I got 2 tickets last weekend in San Francisco, parking tickets.
Bus zones? Okay.
No, not bus zones. Anyways, we know it's expensive to visit.
Abide by the law.
I think this is an invasion of privacy, so I'm not going to go any further. No, that's why I said I'm not going any further. But there is an opportunity for us to get more information. I'm inclined to believe we'll get the information that will prove the need and also the increased efficiency. So if you could consider that while we go to Senator Harmon. And
do we have
Senator
a year?
Gaines.
Do we have a time period?
I would suggest another 3 years, perhaps.
The longer the better.
I mean, the longer the better, but...
From a capital investment point of view,
2 years?
procurement point of view, no.
Are you getting my subtle
I'm going the
drift?
other way.
Senator Harmon?
Well, I have another question, but to address the issue of the sunset, it could be the cost involved to convert to this type of system, and then all of a sudden sunset comes along and you can't use it anymore if it's not removed. So that's something that ought to be considered. I wanted to ask you about rental cars, San Francisco being such a destination resort. What do you do enforcement-wise with rental cars that are parked in the bus lane and it's a violation?
That are cited?
Say, for instance, someone goes to San Francisco from Orange County and gets a rental car.
Those sites go to the registered, they go to the owner.
So it goes
right?
to Hertz or Avis
Yeah.
or somebody like that.
We have a lot of citations that are issued to corporate entities, and some pay and some don't. In fact, frankly, our staff have kind of come to the conclusion that large entities like FedEx and UPS do, they budget for it.
But
And
if it comes back registered, never mind, it's
Yeah,
not really
okay.
that relevant. But I'm just
Yeah.
curious,
It does.
because
If you
that's
rent-
got to be a big problem in San Francisco with all the visitors from all over the world that come to your city. And I'm just curious how you enforce that against rental car companies. But
I was not in a rental car this weekend. I was in my own personal car. It wasn't a state car either. Senator Gaines.
Yeah, I just had a question in terms of enforcement. When you do have a violation, how quickly do you remove the vehicle? I mean, do you have tow trucks at the ready that are pulling these people away? Or
No, we don't. I mean, it's enforcement by citation, basically. We do have I have seen during the peak, if you're in a full-on towaway zone that's an on-ramp to the freeway, you will be towed as soon as somebody can get there. But we don't have enough kind of the quantity of vehicles to do that, so we rely on enforcement.
Seems to me you ought to have a couple of tow trucks at the ready on that
On those
corridor.
beats, there are beats.
Just going
for
up and
that.
down
Yeah.
during the peak hour?
There are certain towaway lanes where that does occur, on-ramps to the Bay Bridge, for example. But it's a triage situation.
Okay, we've done that on our freeway system around here when people break down.
Yes.
And you always have a tow truck at the ready, but
Yeah.
in a critical corridor, if you're just citing and you're not actually removing the vehicle, I don't know how you're improving the efficiency. And Senator Lowenthal focused on that. So are we going to get the efficiency at any point?
Well, I think once someone gets a ticket, they learn very quickly not to park, leave their car there. I mean, they look at the signs. I mean, we have street cleaning, and you kind of know you get a ticket, and you're like, oh, you're not going to forget for another couple months, and then you may forget. But for the most part, it works.
Okay.
It's a deterrent effect.
If we move forward with the extension, though, we will look at the efficiency again to see if that does in fact improve.
Mm-hmm. So the suggestion is an amendment, and through a very sophisticated communication system here, how about 4 years?
Okay,
with a
4
report
years
back?
and another report back to the legislature, similar to this.
Right.
I think that's helpful.
And the guideline will...
Okay.
And the guidelines are the conditions that, as Mr. Lowenthal mentioned, that were consistent in the original legislation.
Okay.
And wireless included with the amendments, though, right? Because that's already, okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate your offer to work with my staff to provide them information about how information is purged.
Absolutely.
Okay. With that, is there a motion? I'm sorry, Assemblymember Ma, any concluding comments?
Nope, I think everything has been said.
Here.
We'll take the amendments here. Present in judicial. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Okay, it's been moved by Senator Gaines, I believe? Lowenthal, sorry. I'm just following the rich tradition of the prior chair of this committee and being confused. That's not what you said this weekend. All right.
I had a question
Senator
on the
Farmer.
amendment.
Okay.
I wanted to inquire if my request/suggestion about the date stamp on
Yes.
the will be taken as part of the amendment in
We
this
will
committee.
include that as well.
Thank you.
All right. I think we've belabored this. Speaking of timestamps, with that, I'll ask the Secretary to call the roll.
The motion is due pass as amended and re-refer to the Committee on Judiciary. Senators Desaulniers?
Aye.
Desaulniers, aye. Gaines? Gaines, aye. Harmon? Harmon, aye. Huff? Kehoe? Lowenthal? Lowenthal, aye. Pavley? Pavley, aye. Rubio? Rubio, aye. Semidian? Semidian, aye.
Thank you.
That's 7 votes, sufficient for passage, but we'll leave it on call. We need to now go back to first the consent calendar. Do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar? So moved by Senator Pavley. We'll call the roll.
On the consent calendar, Senators Desaulniers?
Aye.
Desaulniers, aye. Gaines? Gaines, aye. Harmon? Harmon, aye. Huff? Kehoe? Lowenthal? Lowenthal, aye. Pavley? Pavley, aye. Rubio? Rubio, I. Semidian. Semidian, I.
Okay, if we could go back to item number 3, that's AB 390 from Assemblymember Portantino. We need a motion. It's to do pass
As amended.
to appropriations. Is there a motion? This is Portantino. Senator Semidian will ask the Secretary to call the roll.
Motion is due pass as amended and refer to the Committee on Appropriations. Senators Desaulniers?
Aye.
Desaulniers, I. Gaines?
Aye.
Gaines, I. Harmon? Aye. Harmon, I. Huff? Aye. Huff, I. Kehoe? Lowenthal? Aye. Lowenthal, I. Pavley? Aye. Pavley, I. Rubio? Aye. Rubio, I. Semidian? Aye. Semidian, I. 8-0.
That's 8-0. So we'll go back on the items that are on call. We'll start at the top. Item number 1 by Assemblymember Jeffries, AB 61.
The motion is due pass to appropriations. Current vote is 4-1. Chair I, Vice Chair I. Senators Harmon? Aye. Harmon, I. Lowenthal? Aye. Lowenthal, I. Pavley? Aye. Pavley, I. Semidian? Aye. Semidian, I. 8-1. It's out.
That's 8-1. It's out. We're going to lift the call on AB, we just did that. Oh, on 390.
Sorry.
Let's lift the call on 390s.
390, the motion is due pass as amended to the Committee on Appropriations. Current vote is 8-0. Chair I, Vice Chair I. Senator Kehoe? Aye. Kehoe, aye. So that bill is out 9-0.
That bill is out. I'm sorry, what was it?
9-0.
9-0. We're going to lift the call on
426.
426. This is by Assemblymember Lowenthal.
The motion is due pass as amended. The current vote is 7-0. Chair I, Vice Chair I. Huff? Aye. Huff, aye. Semidian? Item number 4? Semidian, aye. That bill is out 9-0.
All right. Next item.
AB 607 by Assemblymember Brownlee. Motion is due pass as amended. Current vote is 5-1. Chair I, Vice Chair I. Senators Harmon? Aye. Harmon, aye. Lowenthal? Pavley? Okay, that's it. 6-1, that's out.
That bill is out. The vote is 6-1. On the previous bill, the vote was, the bill is out. This is on Assemblymember Lowenthal, but just so I can announce the vote.
9-0.
9-0. Then we'll lift the call on item number 8, I believe.
AB 1041 by Assemblymember Ma. The motion is due pass as amended to the Committee on Judiciary. The current vote is 7-0. Chair I, Vice Chair I. Senators Huff? Aye. Huff, I. Kehoe? Aye. Kehoe, aye. That bill is out 9-0.
That bill is out 9-0. Consent?
And
We
on
need
the
to lift the call on consent.
On the consent calendar, the current vote is 7-0. Senators Huff? Huff, I. Kehoe? Kehoe, aye. Consent calendar is out 9-0.
The consent calendar is out, and before we adjourn, members, I just want to let everyone know that this is a very auspicious hearing because this is the last hearing where we have Jen Gress with us. She is leaving to go to some obscure state agency, that state board that overregulates businesses called the Air Resources Board. So we want to wish her well. That's applaud for your fine work here, and also applaud for your fine work that'll happen at CARB. And with that, I'm sorry? Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you.